SpaceX is going to IPO, and to my dismay, it's not going for a gazillion space bucks, but $15 trillion, $1.5 trillion. It all just sounds like made up numbers, but we'll get to that in a second. Welcome to Cryptocurrents, the weekly podcast with people working in crypto, blockchain, and tech, talking about everything that you need to know in crypto, blockchain, and tech. Think of us like an amazing advent calendar. You open us up every week, and there's a delightful surprise for you, and then you don't think about us till the next week. I'm your host, Vince, and today I'm joined by our resident degen, Kale,
What's up?
and Katya from the Mew team.
Hey, hey.
So we'll talk about the SpaceX of it all here at the end of the show, because they all just sound like made-up numbers. But speaking of made-up numbers and made-up dollars, there's a lot of drama going on right now in the crypto space as Base built out a native bridge to Solana. And this kind of just highlights, the weird kind of like siloing of communities, because now Solana maxis are upset and Ethereum maxis are calling Solana and Ethereum L3. And it's just kind of like a lot of drama in a high school locker room. But Kale, talk to me about all this. Is this just kind of like crypto being boring right now, or is there something actually here to take away from this?
There's definitely something here to take away from, because like long term, this bridge between Solana and Base will be a net positive, I imagine. But like people are just mad about it because the Solana people feel like Base is extracting liquidity, stealing it from Solana to go to Base. So yeah, it's very bullish, I think, for Airdrome because Airdrome is integrated into Coinbase. So like what this means now for
Is that the
Solana
bridge?
projects. No, Airdrome is a DEX. So
okay.
it's the DEX on Base. It's like the premier go-to. It's like the Uniswap of Base.
Gotcha.
And so Airdrome is integrated directly into Coinbase. And so like for Solana projects now, if they want to bridge their liquidity to Base, which is like super easy because of this new bridge, they're basically immediately listed on Coinbase. So like beyond all of the drama that's happening on crypto Twitter, Solana projects, I'm pretty sure, are pretty stoked about this because it opens up like a bunch more liquidity. They can be listed right onto Coinbase off the bat. And yeah, it goes both ways, Base will benefit from this too. So I'm kind of a fan.
I always think it's interesting how you see kind of because I agree with you. I think that the people that are building actually are excited by that. And you always see a weird kind of like disconnect between like the builders and the bag holders where
the degen.
they don't necessarily kind of agree on everything. And that's always kind of interesting to me. Katya, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, in addition to what Kale was saying about the disconnect between builders and bag holders, I feel like it's a little bit of an ego measuring contest between founders and like the bigger personalities in each ecosystem. But what they are alleging, Solana supporters are alleging, is that it's a vampire attack, basically, that they are leeching users and assets from Solana onto Base in one direction. So it's not like, and I mean, I guess at the end, what can you say? If that happens, that means it was all vibes and didn't, like what can Solana do that Base or in the end Ethereum, which is the layer one underpinning Base, can't do? So if the vibes was all there was to it and the vibes are over, or they ran their lifetime, the NFTs, the memes, then, and if that really does happen, then what can you say? That's what happened. I think the question whether bridges and interoperability are or aren't fair or aren't balanced is a moot point. Like that's where it's going to happen. I was actually surprised to see a bridge being used because I'm like, isn't like all of the wallets like super multi-chain now and everything just like sort of happens more or less in there? But I guess it is news because of the community drama. But I think it's not even the point whether Solana does have a good argument. Like that, it doesn't matter. You're not going to stop people building interoperable things because, oh my God, it's like bad competition or something like that. Like it's just that's what's going to happen. And if we see that, that all that happens is that liquidity left Solana for Base, then that's what it means. Base is the winner.
The free market at work. And I agree. I think it's interesting that, we've had a bunch of conversations about how we're abstracting away the chains from users more and more frequently. It's just like the blockchain of it all. You don't know what chain you're operating on. And this kind of feels like a last vestige of like, no, I want my own little party and no one else to come to my party. And it's weird because it's antithetical to adoption.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think they're just seeing that they're feeling the high likelihood of being the loser in this process, and of course, there's a panic going on. Unfortunately, I mean, maybe the best case scenario will happen, and the best case scenario for Solana and for fairness, I don't know, arguably, is that developers on Base will get interested in Solana and they will deploy to Solana as well, and so Solana will get some of that or a lot of that action, for lack of a better word, fees and staking and all of that stuff. But I don't know, just like Ethereum and all the layer twos have such a massive magnetic and network effect. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, best case scenario for Solana is to just officially become an ETH too. I'm just gonna say that.
Attack him, Kale. Attack him.
Uh,
But you know where you're not
Sure.
going to have that strong opinion, Kale, is on Farcaster, right? Farcaster, which was launched as on-chain socials, is going away from that, going away from being a social media platform and going to be focusing on, spoiler alert, more of a wallet. And I think it's funny, like we continue to see this because I'm calling it now, the Web3 era of crypto is done. And this was kind of one of the front runners of the Web3. We're building, the new internet and we're reclaiming value, and it's a Web3 app. Farcaster, Mastodon, all of these things touted as like, this is it, this is what it's going to be. And then I just continued to not see any sort of adoption, not even from crypto people, but like outside of crypto was even non-existent. And yeah, and so they're pivoting away to be more of a wallet first and then social second. Talk to me about your guys' feelings on this. I know you guys have a lot of opinions about wallets and social platforms.
I'm honestly like pretty bummed out. I mean, and I guess it makes sense being like the social media guy, because it's like Farcaster by far was the closest we ever got to having a decentralized social network,
Mm.
which not everybody cares about, but I do think it's like a really cool idea to have like a legit solid like Twitter alternative that's decentralized. And the fact that Farcaster couldn't make it is kind of bums me out, but I mean, yeah, what are you going to do?
I mean, and
Does
I
anyone know what's happening with Lens? Like,
I haven't heard from them in
obvious
years.
big push for the socials. Like, I don't even know. I haven't heard anything about it in a long time.
it's also just interesting, like if we zoom out outside of the crypto of it all, when was the last time you saw a social media platform go gangbusters and actually get broad market penetration? Like
Yeah, that's a good
even
question. It was probably Threads by Instagram, but even Threads didn't do well.
yeah, I was gonna say like TikTok tried to sling their lemonade thing when they were under scrutiny from the US, and see both of your faces to me
No,
make
I
me think
Yeah,
heard
you
it,
haven't
I've
but
heard
never
about
even
it.
noticed that. No, dude.
no, it was
Their
like
Instagram competitor.
it was supposed to be like the replacement for it if TikTok itself had to go down
Yeah.
in US. But yeah. No, yeah,
But yeah.
that's true. It's been Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, I'm curious what it's gonna take to
Twitter, X,
steal
yeah.
steal Twitter's like product market fit into like a decentralized network. Like if that could even ever happen.
Yeah, I don't
But you
know.
know what my pet peeve is though, like in this whole thing is when they say, no, we launched a wallet and it's doing really well. Like I did not know, but not that I use Farcaster so much, but like I didn't notice the wallet launch and it's doing so. And I'm like, y'all think like, oh, that's a no-brainer. We'll do the wallet. You think wallets are so easy? Like what? Like I guess I'm just, I obviously
Yeah,
I'm
good.
biased in this thing, but it's just like there's nuance to wallets, and it's not that, like I don't understand the logic of being, oh, wallets, will definitely succeed with the wallet. Okay.
Mhm.
So because where there was Twitter to their Farcaster, there are plenty of wallets out there already that are eating all the lunches. So I
Yeah,
don't know
and
the logic of that.
they had $180 million invested and like 5 years of building. So like I don't know. I'm not super confident that they're gonna make the wallet thing happen either.
And also, like, you know, I've talked about this a lot, about my pet peeves of like social platforms being part of my financial or wallet platforms and how they don't make sense. And I just don't understand why people continue to go down this route.
Yeah, they were saying in the like one of the announcements, they were like, well, we'll pivot, but they're not like killing the social features, but they're like they'll come for the tool and they'll stay for the network. And I'm like, this is just messaging in a wallet that has died multiple deaths like over the past 5 or 6 years. Like, why is this, an exciting idea that you guys are trying to promote? Yeah, no.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know who thinks that that's a good idea. And I guess Robinhood is going to be trying it again with their own thing allegedly. So maybe we'll see broader adoption there. After Robinhood announced that, I went and checked public.com, which that was their USP, was the social aspect, and they sunsetted about a year ago. So
Yeah, I think
are
the
we just making the same mistake over and over again?
Yeah, I think the closest thing that maybe I've ever seen to social component that was used a bunch in a finance app is like Venmo's, when you say what you're paying for, and then
Hmm.
like I think at a certain point, like people were just entertaining themselves by looking through like the notes attached to payments, which to me personally is also like ridiculous. Like I don't want any, I don't want
Yeah,
to public knowledge what I'm paying anybody for. But apparently people did use it and did find it entertaining. But I think that's the only example.
that's the first thing I thought of when Vince brought up public.
Hmm.
Because yeah,
Yeah.
like that's the only example I can remember, and basically everybody I know has it on private anyway. They like turn
I
it
was
off.
about to say, yeah, I immediately turned that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want anyone knowing where I'm going for brunch. People
Hmm.
might try and say hi, and I don't want that.
Yeah.
But
Definitely
it's
not.
interesting to see how the industry is developing, because some things are, going back to try things that have failed again. Others are just making investments in quote unquote the future. And for that, I'm specifically talking about Tether investing in humanoid robotic startups. Um, and I have a lot of opinions about these robotic startups. But
I can tell from
Kale,
the way you said that.
Kale, talk to me about
Like,
this.
dude, I'm super stoked. I feel like you and I have like pretty opposite takes on AI, but yeah, like I feel like this is like the natural evolution. Obviously like the software side of AI is very much developed compared to the hardware side.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, this just makes sense. This is like the next step.
This makes sense for Tether to be investing in
Oh, no.
this?
For AI in general, sorry. For
Okay.
AI to be moving towards robotics. But like yeah, Tether specifically, I'm actually excited to see them like I don't know if it's like a full-blown pivot, like, oh, we're not about stablecoins anymore. We're only robotics, but like to see any sort of pivot into robotics is cool because I feel like eventually, and I've mentioned this before, crypto and AI like are gonna have some type of strong,
Synergy.
strong synergy, strong partnership in the future. And Tether being a crypto company first, like can usher that in, can bring in
Mhm.
like AI on chain or agents on chain or agents that use Ethereum for things. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this will go. And yeah, I'll probably buy a Tether robot.
I mean, I think for me, it's not like, I think it's just them deploying capital in some sort of rapid growth, maybe taking an opportunity that they saw. I don't necessarily know if they're going to try and fold it back into the Tether of it all, but I could be wrong. But Katya, give me your opinions before I get on my soapbox.
I mean, I think this is one of the four horsemen, I'm telling you. But like to address what you were saying, Kale, I think I have read that actually Tether does a bunch of investments, like in different things, like
Mm.
media and even agriculture, I think.
Hmm.
Anyway, but like, so I'd like to think my preferred scenario is that they're just like you even said, that they're just like a company that's sitting on cash, a company that prints cash and is sitting on it. And they are just investing it like any fund or whatever
Yeah.
would for growth, and that's it. And their choices are obviously subject to public scrutiny, but also not controversial in any way because
Yeah.
everybody is investing in AI and robotics. So that's my preferred view of it. What I don't wouldn't want it to be is that like I agree that AI and crypto have a lot of potential synergies or even I would say, inevitable synergies. But like the whole idea, like Black Mirror-esque idea of like
You don't want the tether bot.
the robot in my kitchen having full access to my bank account and to, like all of that together, like is a full apocalypse kind of to me. That's something that, I think like if we get to a point where somehow you're being forced humanoid robots on you, like you must have one doing something for you for some reason, like that is the point where I deploy to the woods. Because so I just think it's an investment strategy for now, but the like deep integration of finance, banking with AI, with robots is a frightening vision to me. Like maybe I am like what do you call it? Luddite? What are those like
Yeah,
anti?
Luddite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll be a Luddite, but that scares me.
Yeah. All right, time for my soapbox. So I think it's interesting that they are deploying this capital now into robotics. Like this feels late. Just because we've seen so many different startups doing so many different things where I'm like, okay, if Tether is kind of a quote unquote safe company when it comes to how they deploy their capital, obviously government bonds are kind of their bread and butter, pretty safe thing. And so that's just what I wonder. I'm like, okay, is this an actual shift that we're going to see? At the same time, I think it's so silly. And what I think so silly about robotics specifically right now is that a lot of the globe is just being very capitalistic and like, yeah, go for it. Like, do a startup, deploy money. And I'm reminded of the bikes, they're bikes you could rent, which if you go and look it up, like, that was a huge boom, where you could just scan a thing, rent a bike, throw it down wherever. And China has these absolutely phenomenal photos of these bike graveyards because all of these startups started it, made bikes, had, millions of bikes in cities of 100,000 people, and you'll just see these mounds of bikes, and it's just trash now. It's just a bunch of trash and failed startups. And I think that this comes back to robotics is China has specifically said that if you are a startup that is going to deal in robotics, you have to apply for a license to start your company. And, obviously this is all translated and I'm paraphrasing here, but they say, and we don't want to see any dancing robots, which I agree with, because that is the use case that everyone shows right now. And it is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. I don't give a shit about dancing robots anymore.
Dude, I see a lot of like military use cases. Like they're like crawling like spiders like 100 miles per hour. It's pretty scary.
For sure. I mean, you'll definitely see that. But man, all of these things love to show off just the dance moves. And it drives me
Dude, you guys
absolutely
don't like the
batty.
tether bots? What if Tether makes a robot that tells you when you're low on half and half? You're not a fan?
I'm not a fan.
Damn, okay.
But yeah, so that's my soapbox is I'm like, they're late to this, but because I perceive them as making strong, kind of safe investments, maybe this is the way of the future. But at the same time, I think there's just this hype bubble around the robotics, which is kind of I feel like our AI hype bubble has started to die down. Like I don't see AI in the headlines as much anymore. So maybe the robotics, and hopefully it's not just dancing robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting now and wondering like, on one hand, I was thinking like, yeah, maybe they're bubble AI robots, maybe it's about, but it's inevitable. Like it is an industry that's coming either way.
Yeah,
Like internet was .com was a bubble, but
yeah,
here we are. But on the other hand, I'm hoping like maybe it'll be like flying cars. Maybe like it'll actually never happen. Like
maybe.
I'm holding out hope.
Yeah, consumer hardware is always very interesting and complicated, I think. And I'm stunned at the idea that people would just one day own robots because there's so many like hardware of the past that we saw that was just big and clunky and then no one got it. I remember car phones when they were the size of a phone booth in your car. And then it got smaller and more efficient.
I'm just thinking now, like this is completely like off topic and on a tangent, but I wonder, like, if I haven't looked at any surveys or whatever, like, if they've done surveys about robots, like actual humanoid robots, in the home or whatever,
Hmm.
like, what the different opinion, like, how it breaks down. Because, for instance, like, I was just now thinking, like, I wonder if men and women see these possibilities differently. Because, like, me, for instance, as a single woman, I would never want a robot in my home, because I know what it feels like as a woman to have someone there who is stronger and bigger than you, and
Hmm.
that you don't know what they're going to do.
Jesus. Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, it's grim, but it's true,
Yeah.
like, what if, so and it's like right in your home. So, like, it can overwhelm you very easily.
Hmm.
And, like a robot gone rogue is worse than a drunk husband, so
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
so I wonder if there are like differences in demographics of how people like perceive like
I'm sure.
I'm
humanoid
sure
robots.
they
Yeah.
they exist, but just to clarify, for sure men are afraid of that too.
well, yeah,
Because the
because
robots
now
will
like
destroy us.
are stronger than, like
Yeah.
a big guy is stronger than a woman, and a robot is stronger than both.
Yeah, exactly. But like I'm sure I'm sure there's
Yeah.
differences, little minor ones.
Going back to what I was talking about, like consumer hardware, as you were talking, you made me realize that VR, I think, is like, for me, as I said, looking at robotics, VR is the closest parallel. It's like offers a, insane amount of promise, but is big and clunky and difficult and under delivers consistently, and that's why we've never seen a VR explosion. When Apple made their stupid VR head goggles, and then we're like, well, never mind, let's get rid of this.
And Meta closed down their what's the world,
The
the virtual,
metaverse.
the
Yeah.
metaverse. They're pulling people off that
Yeah.
permanently.
And,
So,
and when we see
Really?
these,
Apple's closing their whole metaverse and VR
yeah.
division.
And their stock jumped on that once they announced
These
that they're
guys.
like firing people from the metaverse team. Like, the
I
stock went
mean,
up.
good, because everyone's like, that's stupid.
Finally.
Dude, I never even got to try the Apple VR headset. I was waiting for the price to go down.
Man, I mean,
Um,
I have a PSVR and I've used it twice.
yeah, honestly, like I do have the Meta Quest 3, and it's just like too heavy and too clunky, makes my head sore.
Yeah.
I can only use it for like 30 minutes at a time.
And see, and if I have a robot in my house that I paid 20 grand for that can't even fold towels without some engineer in a third world country piloting it, I don't want it.
No,
Yeah.
I don't want an engineer from any country in my house, via robot or without like, either way.
Yeah, true that.
Oh, but you know what needs a whole bunch of engineers, and that's SpaceX, where we started today's show. SpaceX is gearing up for a blockbuster IPO that could hit $1.5 trillion valuation. And we've talked about valuations of like ChatGPT coming in at $500 billion. So is SpaceX worth 3 ChatGPTs? I would say SpaceX is worth a lot more than 3 ChatGPTs. But yeah, just talk to me kind of, because this is like interesting in like finance and tech. What are your guys' feelings on SpaceX and the thought of like SpaceX being publicly traded?
I have a confession to make, that I
Yeah.
realized as I was reading this, that I kind of thought it was already
Oh,
like,
really?
a lot of these companies are and then I started like searching that, like, OpenAI hasn't had an IPO, and I kind of I'm really confused about how, because I don't know, just like you hear these companies so much, and they're constantly like have the biggest market caps and the biggest whatever, and you kind of just, I don't know, for me, because I don't watch the markets every day, so I'm not as knowledgeable as I should be, probably. But I was like, wait, it's not public?
Yeah, and then there's like random companies with like 1% of the market cap that are public.
That are public. Then I searched, then I went and searched. I'm like, what space companies are public? And
Yeah, there's
I
like Virgin
almost
Galactic.
didn't know any single one.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. Or not necessarily excited, because this doesn't like materially affect my life, but I
No.
do think it's cool. It's cool to see. It makes a lot of sense to me, because I think that space exploration and space travel is one of like the next asymmetric bets for like
Yeah.
regular people like you and I to invest in. I mean, assuming the future goes like how I envision it, at least, because like
Positively.
yeah, there's so many things that could go wrong. But yeah, it kind of makes sense to me that SpaceX would be valued at 3 times ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is like just a
it's worth a
syncopath.
lot more. What does ChatGPT do for me? SpaceX powers my cell phone.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
makes
No, yeah, it's so funny to me that like SpaceX is actually, for all intents and purposes, a phone company right now.
Yeah. Well,
Internet company.
they also put all of American astronauts on the ISS, and like that's kind of where
Already? They're doing most
yes,
of that already?
they
Yeah.
do most of that, yes, just because Boeing keeps stranding astronauts, which is true. Yeah, if you look at, I think his name was Butch, and I can't remember who the other one was, but 2 astronauts were stranded.
No,
by
yeah, like,
Boeing, dude,
Yeah, by Boeing. The Boeing aircraft like
bro.
wasn't marked as safe to return, so they ended up being stuck in space for I think close to a year.
I remember
yeah.
reading about that. I
When it
didn't
was
realize.
supposed to be like 3 days or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. And for that reason, I'm kind of surprised that SpaceX has not been nationalized by the US government. I'm surprised they just haven't said, this is our company now. But, you know, it hasn't IPO'd yet. You never know what this government will do. Talking about the IPO, like, I think it's really interesting because obviously none of us have equity in SpaceX. So this is no skin off our teeth. But one of the promises of crypto that we saw in the ICO boom that I hope we will see with tokenization of private equity is the ability to get in early on these projects and like, you know, invest your assets around these companies that you're excited about. So do you think that's kind of what the future might hold for crypto?
I mean, one can definitely hope. I feel like
Yeah.
we are moving in that direction, like bringing stocks on chain. It'll definitely make it just easier to
Yeah.
I
access.
mean, one thing you have to consider, and I'm sure like many people are also thinking about this right now who are in tokenization, is that when you have something like this that has a tangential or direct relationship to national security, then what does it mean for people that are not, you know, the country's citizens to be able to invest into it? What does it
Yeah.
mean for other countries to be able to invest in it? Does it mean for, you know, like what if
Those
Russia
countries
gets
just become an L2 to
yeah,
America.
what if Russia buys you know, like a significant stake? And you know what I'm saying? So kind of like all those considerations. And when you on one hand open up entry into stocks via tokenization to people and institutions that haven't had access to it before, these are all the things you have to consider, and I'm sure it gets very complicated. And so I don't know. I think all of us can look forward to um, a lot
A
of
lot of
complications,
learning.
a lot of learning, a lot of complications, and a lot of drama around all of this stuff, privately and in the news, as this gets super globalized. But you know what have you heard this like theory? I only learned about this theory recently. Okay, when you said about like your version of the future, it made me think of this. That like one of the theories of why we can't seem to find intelligent life, like you know that like there's so many stars, there's so many galaxies. Why haven't we met anyone from
Because we're
other?
in like the empty zone. Is that what you're?
No, one of the theories apparently is that intelligent civilizations self-destruct before they get to meaningful intergalactic travel.
Mhm.
And looking at our planet, I'm like 100%.
Yeah, no, I've read similar things
That's what
before.
happens. But you know, we're gonna stay positive and support space programs. That's
Yeah,
what we're
no,
gonna do.
we're staying positive. And on that note, I found our way to world peace. So what we're gonna do is the U.S. is gonna nationalize SpaceX, and then Russia and China and all the world powers will sell them like 10% or 30% or however much, and then everybody needs to get along. GG's.
Everybody get along.
Super simple.
See?
Tokenization as a path to world peace.
I think
I
this is
think
the second time that Kale has pitched tokenization as the path to world peace.
Yep.
I think a Bitcoin in every node was the other path to world peace previously.
I don't remember what it was but that probably was it, because yeah.
Then I think you also replaced global conflict with meme wars.
Oh, right. I remember that. Wow.
Wow, dude. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
at least 3, at least.
Yeah, so you're
So we
right.
got
So
options.
Kale for Nobel Peace Prize.
We got
that's
options.
and that's the note that we're going to end this episode on. Kale for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Hell
Thank you,
yeah.
dear listener, for tuning in and joining us this week. We hope you found this helpful and useful. You should, because I feel smarter for just listening to these two. Make sure you leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Follow along on Twitter or on any of our handles, which are in the show notes. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.